Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaks with Russian President Vladimir Putin over the phone, says discussed various positive developments in the special and privileged strategic partnership. The 54th Annual World Economic Forum meet in Davos begins on Monday. WEF President Brent says India can become a $10 trillion economy in the coming 2 decades. India's Foreign Minister Dr. Jaishankar meets Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi, also holds talks with his counterpart in Tehran over bilateral matters like the Chabahar port and the INSTC, apart from discussing regional and global developments. And Republicans in Iowa are all set to vote in the U.S. presidential race's first caucus to choose the party's nominee. Former President Donald Trump is widely forecast to cement his front-runner status. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin held a telephonic conversation on Monday. The two leaders reviewed progress on a number of issues of bilateral cooperation and follow-up to recent high-level exchanges between the two nations. They positively assessed the developments in bilateral relations and agreed to develop a roadmap for future initiatives to further strengthen the India-Russia Special and Privileged Strategic Partnership. They also exchanged views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. Prime Minister Modi conveyed his best wishes for Russia's presidency of BRICS in 2024 and assured of India's full support. The two leaders also agreed to remain in touch. And India's External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar held wide-ranging discussions on Monday with Iranian Foreign Minister Dr. Amir Abdollahian in Tehran. The discussion was held on a number of global issues, including Gaza situation, Afghanistan, Ukraine and BRICS cooperation. Besides, the bilateral discussion focused on the long-term framework for India's involvement in Chabahar port and the International North-South Transport Corridor, that's the INSTC connectivity project.
In particular, we discussed India's involvement in the development and operation of the Chabahar port, a joint project with a joint vision of connectivity. I emphasized India's commitment to this project and discussed how we can establish a firm, sustainable and long-term roadmap for India's continued involvement over the coming years. Given the importance of this project for both nations, I emphasized the need to monitor its progress under the direct supervision of the political leadership.
And India's Foreign Minister also spoke about threats to maritime shipping in the region, stressing that it's important that this should be speedily addressed.
As you are all aware, there have also been recently a perceptible increase in threats to the safety of maritime commercial traffic in this important part of the Indian Ocean. The Minister also referred to it. We have even seen some attacks in the vicinity of India. This is a matter of grave concern to the international community. Obviously, it also has a direct bearing on India's energy and economic interests. This broad situation is not to the benefit of any party, and this must be clearly recognized.
And Dr. Jaishankar also called in Iranian President Dr. Ibrahim Raisi later in the day. The minister conveyed the greetings of India's Prime Minister. He also expressed condolences over the loss of lives in the terror attacks in the southeastern Iranian city of Kerman. The two explosions on the 3rd of January had killed nearly 100 people and wounded scores of other people. Dr. Jaishankar also apprised the Iranian president of his productive discussions with Iranian ministers. He said that he valued the Iranian president's guidance for further development of ties. And India's External Affairs Minister also held talks with Iran's Minister for Roads and Urban Development in Tehran on Monday. The ministers had a detailed and constructive discussion on the establishment of a long-term cooperation framework in relation to Chabahar Port. Thoughts were also exchanged on the North-South International Transport Corridor, as I earlier mentioned. Now, the 54th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum has begun today at the Swiss resort town of Davos. Ahead of the meet, the WEF's President Borge Brent has told an Indian publication that the Indian economy can sustain high levels of growth for years to come and become a $10 trillion USD economy in the coming 2 decades. Here's more.
The 54th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum has gotten underway with the theme Rebuilding Trust from Monday till the 19th of this month at the Swiss resort town of Davos. Ahead of the meet, WEF's President Borge Brent has told an Indian business publication that he expects India's economy to grow at 8% this year and sustain high levels of growth for years to come. He said, "We think in the coming decade we can be speaking about a $10 trillion economy at least in the coming 2 decades. Praising India further, WEF chief said the country has been growing its digital economy twice as fast as the rest of the economy. India has been at the forefront due to the digital economy and the export of services. This is a very sweet spot for India, but of course reform should have to continue in India. Reforms related to education, funding, reforms to tackle unnecessary red tape should continue. I feel there is an understanding of all these things in New Delhi." Brand also cited an instance which indicated the rising global stature of the Indian economy. He says, "India is growing very fast. There's a lot of interest in India. There is like a country strategy meeting on India where 3 ministers that are here will conduct, and Reserve Bank of India governor is here too. I was told by my team that it was oversubscribed after half an hour, so there's a long waiting list." Certain attributes and achievements on the economic front has drawn global attention in recent times. These are: India's BSE Sensex breached the 73,000 mark for the first time on Monday. India's Nifty also breached the 22,000 milestone on Monday. During the April-December 2023 period, gross GST collection witnessed a robust 12% year-on-year growth. UPI transactions have grown at CAGR of 147% by volume from financial year 2017-18 to 2022-23. UPI transactions have grown at a CAGR of 168% by value from financial year 2017-18 to 2022-23. Indian debt markets boomed as FPIs injected $1 billion in 12 days. Indian economy has been able to withstand geopolitical shocks. Indian policymakers have kept inflation from running riot and playing havoc with the economy. An Indian Inc. CEO survey said 1/3 business heads believe in the resilience of the Indian economy. 30 crore Ayushman cards have been made under Ayushman Bharat PM Jan Arogya Yojana. The Indian economy's high performance remains a big draw for global investors. It's being reflected clearly at the WEF gathering of top government and business figures in Davos this year.
Now, the 54th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum begins today in Davos. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has arrived in Switzerland to take part in the event. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, French President Emmanuel Macron, and key West Asian leaders will also be there to attend the 54th annual gathering. And putting an end to the ongoing conflicts in West Asia and Ukraine remain top of the agenda. A challenging global economic picture with shifting interest rate policies and rising debt will also confront central bankers, financiers, and business leaders who will be attending the meeting. National security advisors of several countries met earlier in Davos on Sunday to discuss a peace formula for Ukraine. Now, as the World Economic Forum takes place in Davos, a new survey of top economists released on Monday suggests that the global economy is likely to face subdued growth prospects this year, alongside uncertainty due to geopolitical tensions, tight financial conditions, and the disruptive impact of artificial intelligence. Here are some key stats from the survey. 56% anticipate global economic weakness this year, with significant regional differences. Most experts predict moderate or robust growth in China and US. There's broad consensus on Europe to only achieve weak or very weak growth. Outlook for South Asia, East Asia and Pacific is more positive. A majority expects a moderate growth in South Asia, East Asia and Pacific regions. 70% expect financial conditions to loosen in advanced economies. Further, 50% expect generative AI to be commercially disruptive this year. 94% anticipate AI to greatly enhance productivity in high-income economies within the next 5 years. And 53% predict the same for low-income economies. And a total of 248.2 million Indians have escaped multidimensional poverty over the last 9 years, with the largest decline reported in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh. According to findings of the Niti Aayog's discussion paper, Multidimensional Poverty in India since 2005-06, poverty in India declined from 29.17% in 2013-14 to 11.28% in 2022-23, with about 248.2 million people moving out of this category. States of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh recorded the largest decline in the number of MPI poor between the same period. Also, all 12 indicators of MPI have recorded significant improvement during the entire study period. A seismic shift in the global employment landscape is looming as the International Monetary Fund has issued a stark warning, suggesting that nearly 40% of jobs worldwide could be disrupted by the proliferation of artificial intelligence. IMF Chief Kristalina Georgieva has raised concerns over the potential deepening of inequality and urged governments to take proactive measures during a Sunday blog post. She said that about 60% of jobs may be impacted by AI in advanced economies. Around half the exposed jobs may benefit from AI integration, enhancing productivity. For the other half, AI applications may perform key tasks currently performed by humans, potentially lowering labor demand and resulting in lower wages and reduced hiring. In the worst-case scenario, some of these jobs might disappear. In emerging markets and low-income countries, however, AI exposure is expected to be 40% and 26% respectively. And still to come on DD India News Hour, the Central Pacific island of Nauru cuts ties with Taiwan. The Israel-Hamas conflict completes 100 days. Hamas puts out footage of 3 Israeli hostages while the fighting goes on. And Russia asserts that discussions on Ukraine's peace proposal at Davos would be futile without its involvement.
From the banks of River Saryu, we bring for you the special stories from the streets of holy city Ayodhya Dham, the land of Ram, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, following the election results in Taiwan, President-elect Lai Ching-te on Monday met a U.S. delegation of former U.S. officials, expressing hope that the United States would continue to support Taiwan. The U.S. delegation also met outgoing President Tsai Ing-wen. Former U.S. National Security Advisor Stephen Hadley assured that its commitment to the island, that is the U.S.'s commitment to the island, is rock solid.
The election results in Taiwan gave further boost to ruling Democratic Progressive Party. Following the election results, the party made it clear that the new administration will continue to deepen cooperation with the United States for safety and prosperity in the region. In a meeting with a visiting delegation of former senior U.S. officials, President-elect Lai Ching-te expressed hope that the United States would continue to support Taiwan.
We are thankful for the United States' long-term support of Taiwan. I believe our relationship will advance in stable direction through our continuous hard work and become an important force to safeguard the peace and prosperity of the Indo-Pacific.
The U.S. delegation of former U.S. officials also met outgoing President Tsai Ing-wen. The delegation comprised of former Deputy Secretary of State James Steinberg, Chair of the American Institute in Taiwan, Laura Rosenberger, and former U.S. National Security Advisor Stephen Hadley.
We look forward to continuity in the relationship between Taiwan and the United States under the new administration, and for common efforts to preserve cross-strait peace and stability.
Taiwan's outgoing president expressed hope that Taiwan-US relations will become an important driving force for regional and global prosperity and development.
I would like to thank the United States and all distinguished guests for their attention and support to Taiwan. And we also hope that Taiwan-US relations will continue to move forward and become an important driving force for regional and global prosperity and development.
The election in Taiwan also saw some diplomatic shift. Taiwan announced decisions to snap diplomatic ties with Central Pacific island Nauru, which earlier the same day had declared its intentions to seek formal ties with China. Taiwan also said it will halt all bilateral plans for cooperation with Nauru.
In order to maintain our sovereignty and dignity, we have decided from this very day to end diplomatic relations with Nauru, halt all bilateral plans for cooperation, withdraw the embassy and repatriate technical personnel, and will demand for Nauru to shut its embassy in Taiwan.
China views democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory and has stated that it would not relinquish its goals of reunification. Following the election results, Chinese military released recent pictures of missile boats. President-elect Lai's party champions Taiwan's separate identity and rejects China's territorial claims. Lai, who will take office on the 20th of May, made it clear that he will follow in the footsteps of outgoing President Tsai to defend peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. Fuzail Ahmed reporting for DD India.
Now 100 days old, the latest Israel-Hamas war and fighting is by far the longest, bloodiest and most destructive conflict between the bitter enemies. Hamas aired a video allegedly showing the Israeli hostages that is holding in Gaza, 3 of them in fact. And for its part, Israel's army is intensifying offensive in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza Strip. DD India's Mihir Maikuri gives you a 360-degree roundup of all the action.
The Israel-Hamas conflict has completed 100 days, but the battle still continues with no end in sight. Israeli forces thwarted an alleged Hamas attempt to transport weapons to operatives in the Khan Yunis area. The Israeli Defense Forces also reported that its troops raided a Hamas command center and destroyed weapons depots in Khan Yunis. The hostage crisis has kept Israelis on tenterhooks. With pain etched in their eyes, these families of Israeli hostages braved rain in Tel Aviv for all-night, quote-unquote, 100 days of hell rally and called for the immediate return of their loved ones who are being held by Hamas in Gaza.
This is my big brother. He's kidnapped by Hamas. He's held hostage from the 7 October, 100 days. We hope we come back. We wish he came back every day, every night, every time, every hour, every minute that passed is harder.
Israeli soccer player Sagiv Yekeskel, who has been suspended from a top-tier Turkish club, is now returning to Israel after being briefly detained by police for an on-pitch protest supporting hostages held in Gaza. On the other hand, Hamas aired a video on Sunday showing 3 Israeli hostages it is holding in Gaza, urging their government to stop the offensive. Meanwhile, intense negotiations remain on to peacefully resolve the conflict. The latest to make a dash for the Middle East is Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong.
Australia is not a central player in the Middle East, but we are a respected voice. And I'll be using our voice to advocate for a pathway out of this conflict. We all know that pathway can only be found by the parties to the conflict.
On the Lebanese front, Israeli forces launched strikes on Hezbollah targets after a guided missile from Lebanon killed a woman and her son in a village in northern Israel. The latest chapter to a decades-old conflict began after Hamas launched an unprecedented assault on Israel on the 7th of October last year, with hundreds of gunmen infiltrating communities near the Gaza Strip. About 1,200 people were killed, while the Israeli military says more than 200 soldiers and civilians, including women and children, were taken to Gaza as hostages. Mihir Makri, DD, India.
And after the US and Britain launched airstrikes on Yemen last week, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said on Monday that he aimed to de-escalate tensions in the Middle East. Sunak said he wants to restore civility in the region and stressed that the airstrikes have been proportionate, targeted action on military targets. He made that statement in Parliament.
Well, our aim is to de-escalate tensions in the region and actually restore stability back to the area. We faced an escalating series of attacks from the Houthis on commercial shipping, including an attack on Royal Navy warship. That's unacceptable. It was right that we took proportionate, targeted action against military targets to send a strong message that that behaviour is unacceptable.
And in the unfolding Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Kremlin, in a statement on Monday, asserted that discussions on Ukraine's peace proposal at Davos would be futile without its involvement. On the same day, Ukraine reported the downing of a Russian A-50 spy plane and command aircraft in the Sea of Azov region. Ukraine expressed its commitment to removing every Russian soldier from its territory. Zelensky deemed talks with Russia illegal, while Russia rejected his peace formula for excluding their participation. Americans are all set to vote for the first time in the 2024 presidential elections on Monday in the Iowa caucus, which will help determine the Republican presidential nominee, with former President Donald Trump widely expected to cement his front-runner status. Only Republicans will vote on Monday, as Democrats have changed their primary calendar, moving their first votes to a different state. With 48% of the support, Donald Trump is far ahead of other Republican candidates, as former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley had jumped to second place with 20%, while Florida Governor Ron DeSantis had slipped to third place with 16% of the support. Now, the GOP candidates have been going all out to ace the first caucus, but the weather in Iowa has proved to be a major obstacle for them during the campaigning and could also upend the voting. William Denso reports from Iowa.
As you can probably see, it is freezing cold in Iowa. The temperature's down at over minus 20 degrees Celsius. However, that is not deterring people to come and listen to former President Donald Trump just behind me at Simpson's College, about an hour away from the state capitol in Des Moines. It's the final opportunity for the various Republican candidates to make their pitch to Iowans, for them to come out and caucus for them ahead of Monday's vote. The candidates for several days have been busy going all around the state to make that pitch to voters, why they should be their pick to be the Republican nominee to face off against Joe Biden in the presidential election later this year. The weather needs to be taken into serious consideration. Bitterly cold, some campaign events over recent days have been cancelled, but as we see here, there's still plenty of appetite for our Iowans to hear from the candidates who are making their final says. And the polls are very revealing as well. We've just had the release of a Des Moines Register NBC News poll that shows that Donald Trump here in the state has around a 48% lead compared to Nikki Haley, the former UN ambassador who holds around 20% of the polling, with Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, down at around 16%. However, of course, those are polls. The challengers to Donald Trump very much hoping that will change. Throughout this race, Donald Trump has really been acting almost like an incumbent. He hasn't been participating in the Republican debates. He's been out on his own, holding his own events. So this vote is really the first chance that voters will have the opportunity to see his name alongside other candidates to make that decision on who exactly they want to see challenge the Democrats in the presidential election. The message here is that despite the frigid temperatures, Iowans are committed. They will turn out to the polls and canvass for their candidates on Monday. William Denslow in Iowa, reporting for DD India.
Let's now get you some other updates from around the world as well. Ecuadorians are longing to return to peaceful life after a wave of violence hit the country last week. Ecuador's police and military are aiming to restore order inside the country and its prisons. Germany's Finance Minister Christian Lindner took to the stage on Monday in front of thousands of jeering farmers protesting against tax hikes and told them there was no money for further subsidies. The protests have heaped pressure on Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition to fix budget disarray. Poland's president asserted on Monday that the removal of state prosecutor Dariusz Barski by the justice minister was unlawful, marking a fresh battleground in the ongoing clash between the head of state and the recently formed government. Comoros opened its first round of presidential elections to select the national leader for six candidates for the next 5 years. If no candidate secures over 50% of the vote, the top two will compete in a runoff on the 25th of next month. And still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll be speaking with our expert guests about the $10 trillion economy size for India by the prediction by the World Economic Forum president. Preparations for the consecration of Ram Temple in Ayodhya are on at full swing. And there's a lot more to come on the Indian harvest festivals of Makar Sankrant, Pongal, Uttarayan and Magh Bihu.
This is Dashrath Mahal or Dashrath Palace, which is thought to have served the home of Lord Rama in his younger days and also served as a capital of King Dashrath.
राम राज्य पूर्णतः 22 जनवरी को वापस आ रहा है। हम लोगों में एकदम हर्ष उल्लास है। जय श्री राम। पूरी अयोध्या मानो दुल्हन की तरह सज गई है।
राम राज्य के दर्शन करने सब राज आएगा। ये पृथ्वी का ना राजा राम जी है।
अयोध्या में राम जी का भव्य मंदिर, दिव्य मंदिर बन रहा है। ये हमारे स्वाभिमान का प्रतीक है।
Iconic Ram Ki Pedi or the series of ghats on the bank of much revered river Saryu.
राम जी का राज्य था, राम जी का राज्य है, राम जी का राज्य रहेगा।
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. India's President Draupadi Murmu visited the Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya, which is a museum in New Delhi dedicated to the Prime Ministers of the country. The President became the first visitor to the Narendra Modi Gallery, which will be open to the public from the 16th of this month, that is from Tuesday. The President expressed delight to see Prime Minister Modi's contributions to the various spheres of nation building coherently showcased in one place. She spent some time seeing its various sections such as Sushasan, Paryavaran, Vikas, Antarashtriya Sadbhavana, Vigyanodaya, Sanskritik Dharohar and Suraksha, as well as Jan Bhagidari. And following the President's visit, the Indian Prime Minister also expressed happiness on the President Murmu's visit to Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya. The PM posted on X, and I quote, glad that Rashtrapati Ji visited the PM Sangrahalaya, which gives a glimpse of the life and work of all those who've had the honour to serve as India's Prime Minister. I would also urge others, especially youngsters, to visit the Sangrahalaya. And the Indian PM also released the first installment of 100,000 beneficiaries of a housing scheme titled the PM Awas Yojana Gramin through a video link. Prime Minister Modi interacted with the beneficiaries of the PM Janman on the occasion. In line with the Prime Minister's efforts towards the vision of Antyodaya to empower the last person at the last mile, PM Janman was launched for the socio-economic welfare of particularly vulnerable tribal groups on the 15th of November last year on the occasion of जनजातीय गौरव दिवस।
अभी इस कार्यक्रम में 1 लाख जनजातीय लाभार्थियों के बैंक खाते में पक्के घर बनाने के लिए सरकार ने सीधे पैसे ट्रांसफर किए हैं। आपको अपना घर बनाने के लिए लगभग एक घर के लिए 2.5 लाख रुपए सरकार से मिलेंगे। और हां, बस घर ही नहीं मिलेगा, इतने से बात रुकने वाली नहीं है। बिजली का कनेक्शन मिलेगा ताकि आपके बच्चे पढ़ सके, आपके सपने पूरे हो सके, आपके नए घर में साफ पानी की व्यवस्था हो ताकि कोई बीमारी हमारे घर में ना आए और वो कनेक्शन भी मुफ्त दिया जाएगा।
Let's now get you some special updates from Ayodhya ahead of the grand opening of the Ram Temple on the 22nd of this month. As the consecration of the Ram Temple at Ayodhya draws near, take a look at how artisans have come together for the construction of the temple and how the dream has come true for a person after 34 years. Anita Raj reports.
Ayodhya is getting ready for its big day, the inauguration of Ram Mandir. Anticipation for the Pran Pratishtha ceremony is buzzing around. But the beautifully carved stones installed in the temple of Lord Sri Ram have been carved in Ayodhya for years, and this work is been looked after by an 84-year-old Anubhai Somapura of Ahmedabad. Anubhai Somapura, a master stone carver and supervisor of Sri Ram Mandir Nirman workshop, had a dream of Ram Temple from 1990. He always hoped that the Ram Temple would be built one day. With this hope, he has been monitoring the work of stone carving for years.
I came from Ahmedabad at the age of 45 years and now I am 84 years old. Never thought that we would witness this moment.
Anubhai Somapura came from western part of India's Ahmedabad, Gujarat in the year 1990 with the dream of Ram Temple in Ayodhya. He recounted that when he asked the artisans to come along, no one came with him. Now, more and more artisans are coming up from different parts of the country.
The number of the artisans growing up, the stone also came from Rajasthan. The age of these stones installed in the temple is thousands years old, and the carving on the stones are all done by hands.
With just over a week left for the grand ceremonial opening of Ram Temple in Ayodhya, the city is being given a transformative makeover. Anita Raj, DD India.
And for the convenience of the lakhs of devotees and visitors who are expected to visit Ayodhya in the coming days, signages are being put up across the city as well. The signages will be in 22 Indian languages and 6 foreign languages. The remaining would be put on before the consecration ceremony that is set for the 22nd of this month. And as we've been saying, Ayodhya is gearing up for the grand inauguration of the Ram Temple on the 22nd of this month. It's anticipated that there will be a substantial boost in business activities across the country. Ayodhya ceremony is expected to give a boost to the economy, in which business may witness 1 lakh crore rupees, while Delhi alone is expected to witness business worth 20,000 crore rupees. Initially, the Confederation of All India Traders had estimated a business of 50,000 crores, but given the tremendous enthusiasm among the people and the feedback received from trade associations of 30 cities of different states, the demand for models of the Ram Mandir has also seen a rapid increase, and it's expected that over 5 crore models will be sold across the country. Over 200 major markets in Delhi alone are expecting to witness a business of 20,000 crore rupees. Let's now get you a live update as well. Joining us now is DD India's Siddharth Bhardwaj, straight from Ayodhya for more updates. Siddharth, good evening to you. The big day of the consecration of Ram Lala's idol is just a week away now. How is Ayodhya getting up for it in terms of perhaps the grandest event it has ever witnessed in modern times?
Well, certainly, Gautam, first of all, a very good evening to you, a very good evening to you from the temple town. This is certainly a very special evening as I'm here in Ayodhya, and the city is certainly buzzing with excitement. The pilgrims, the devotees, the tourists, they are all happy. They're jumping in joy. They're very excited for the big day, which is on 22nd of January. And not just that, Gautam, they're very much excited for the rituals which will be building up, to the big day. And there's a collective eagerness amongst the locals to make this event a grand success. And also at the same time, authorities are leaving no stone unturned, to make sure that everything goes well. This city, Gautam, has been through a major transformation for good in terms of its infrastructure, in terms of ease of commute, and in terms of business as well. Let me just, explain each three of them very, very quickly. When I say infrastructure, I say widening of roads, construction still going on, I say the street lights, the beautiful street lights that are illuminating the entire city, as you can see behind me. Also, signages, on the road, and also the graffiti which are there on the walls. So you see how beautiful is that when, people are just going through the city, they're going through the life of Lord Ram. How beautiful is that? Such is the design of the city right now. So that's when I say that the city has been through a major transformation, and infrastructure is one of them. When I say the ease of commute, then you remember, Gautam, a few days back, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi came here and he inaugurated the Ayodhya Dham Junction railway station, and also flagged off Vande Bharat and Amrit Bharat as well. And he also inaugurated terminal of Maharishi Valmiki International Airport. So what does it mean? It certainly means that whosoever wants to come to Ayodhya, they can just simply book their tickets and they can come. That is the ease of travel. And when it happens, Gautam, the influx of tourists in Ayodhya, the number goes just higher and higher, which also directly impacts the business in the region. So all in all, it's a win-win situation here in terms of, economy, and in terms of, attracting the tourists. And since when I say it's international airport, that certainly means that, people from all walks of life, from all around the world, they'll be here to see the architectural marvel, the Ram Mandir, Gautam. It's not, apart from being a testament to the religious faith, it's certainly, an architectural marvel designed by the engineers. I just landed here today in Ayodhya, and when I saw Ram Temple today, I was just mesmerized. I was short of words. I couldn't say anything. And I'm sure this must be the reaction of almost everyone who must be seeing this beautiful Ram Temple here in Ayodhya. So all in all, like like I say, it's a win-win situation, and the vibe which this city is offering right now is exceptionally different. It's a happy vibe, it's a joyous vibe. You just stand here and you see the beauty. As I walk and you walk through the pavements, you just feel like walking, and people here are just just chanting Jai Shri Ram, and they're just walking and taking the delicacies of the Indian cuisines, the cuisines which are available here in Ayodhya, the traditions of Ayodhya, and they're talking to people out here, and all in all, it's a happy vibe out here in Ayodhya, Gautam.
Sounds wonderful. We hope that the build-up is as grand as it's coming out to be at the moment as well. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Siddharth Bhardwaj. And the news just coming in, Houthi forces in Yemen have struck a US-owned and operated container ship, MV Gibraltar Eagle, with an anti-ship ballistic missile. US Central Command has given out this information on Monday, although there have been no reports of any injuries or any significant damage. The vessel's US-based owner, Eagle Bulk Shipping, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The Iran-backed Houthis, who control most of Yemen's Red Sea coast, have been attacking commercial ships in the area they say are linked to Israel or bound for Israeli ports, in action they say is aimed at supporting the Palestinians in the war and Hamas in Gaza. Earlier in the day, British maritime security firm Ambrey said that a Marshall Islands-flagged US-owned bulk carrier was reportedly struck by a missile while transiting near Yemen's port of Aden. Now, the Vixat Bharat Sankalp Yatra is being undertaken across India with the aim to inform people about the government and its welfare measures by ensuring that their benefit reach targeted individuals in a time-bound manner. The Yatra has reached Sarchip district in India's northeastern state of Mizoram. Various government departments collaborated to engage the public in developmental initiatives. The event included awareness programs, the distribution of VBSY calendars, the issuance of PMJBY golden cards, free health camps and bookings for free gas connections. The campaign is aimed at enhancing community participation and to address the needs of the people. India has resolved to strengthen the armed forces and ensure ex-servicemen welfare as the nation celebrates the 76th Army Day on Monday. Marking the occasion, a military and combat display event, Shaurya Sandhya, was organized at the Lucknow cantonment in India's Uttar Pradesh as part of the 76th Army Day celebrations. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh attended the event. More in this report.
Indian Army is celebrating 76th Army Day with unwavering resolve and commitment to safeguard the territorial integrity of the nation. The Army Day was celebrated with a grand parade in the North Indian city of Lucknow. Addressing the event, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh stated that the Indian Army is now furnished with contemporary weaponry and there has been an augmentation in the representation of women.
कई वर्षों से थल सेना दिवस मनाया जाता रहा है। इस परंपरा में हमने यह बदलाव किया कि माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के विजन से अब आर्मी डे दिल्ली से बाहर दूसरे शहरों में भी आयोजित किया जा रहा है। इसी प्रोग्रेस की श्रृंखला में देश यह भी देख रहा है कि किस प्रकार से हमारी सेना लगातार नए और आधुनिक हथियारों से सुसज्जित हो रही है। हमारी सेना ड्रोन्स, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस से संचालित वेपन से सुसज्जित है। हमारी सेना में नारी शक्ति का प्रतिनिधित्व बढ़ रहा है।
The theme for this year's Army Day is Year of Technology Absorption, a theme that underscores the Army's focus and efforts to leverage technology as a catalyst for transformative change. The Chief of Army Staff General Manoj Pandey reviewed the parade and presented gallantry awards. Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan and other senior military personnel also attended the parade. General Pandey acknowledged the Indian Army's versatile roles, including border protection, counter-terrorism and humanitarian operations.
उत्तरी सीमाओं पर हमारी सेना किसी भी स्थिति से निपटने के लिए पूरी तरह तैयार और सक्षम है। उत्तरी सीमाओं पर अपनी क्षमता को विकास करने के लिए हमने कई ठोस कदम उठाए हैं। हाल ही में इमरजेंसी प्रोक्योरमेंट के प्रावधानों के जरिए हमने कई आधुनिक उपकरणों की आपूर्ति की है, जिसमें नीश टेक्नोलॉजी के लैस अस्त्र शस्त्र भी शामिल हैं। सीमा क्षेत्रों में क्रिटिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को विकसित करने की दिशा में खास ध्यान दिया गया है और इसमें अच्छी प्रगति भी हुई है।
India celebrates Army Day on January 15 every year to commemorate the achievements of the first Indian Commander-in-Chief of the Indian Army, General K.M. Cariappa. On this day, General Cariappa, who led Indian forces to victory in the 1947 war, took over the command of the Indian Army from General Sir F.R.R. Butcher, the last British Commander-in-Chief in 1949, and became the first Indian Commander-in-Chief of independent India. The parade featured 6 marching contingents and a military band with 6 brass bands and 4 pipe bands from different regimental centers. 23 foreign service attaches from 19 countries attended the parade, which was also witnessed by veterans, NCC cadets, school children, serving soldiers and their families. A flypast by the Army aviation helicopters was held. Army's motorcycle display team, Daredevils, enthralled the audience with 35 motorcycles by performing stunts. A team of 8 paratroopers also showcased a combat free-fall as they jumped out of a Dhruv helicopter, deployed their parachutes and maneuvered down to land on the ground.
India celebrated the 76th Army Day, where the entire nation commemorated the bravery and valor of the soldiers of the Indian Army in protecting the nation and safeguarding its freedom, sovereignty and integrity with their sacrifices. In Lucknow, with camera person SP Dubey, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
Let's now take some of the other updates coming in from the country. People celebrated the Indian festivals of harvest, namely Makar Sankranti, Pongal, Uttarayan and Magh Bihu in different parts of India. Commemorating the conclusion of winter and the advent of extended daylight, these festivities showcase India's cultural richness. Now, as the annual Makara Vilakku festival kicks off, Sabrimala Hill Shrine Temple in Kerala is fully prepared for the event. Devotees throng Sabrimala Shrine in large numbers to watch Makara Jyoti on the occasion. India's Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel ceremoniously unveiled the national security and police projects at Rashtriya Raksha University in Lavard village, marking their former dedication to the nation. Let's now take you back to one of our top stories, where the World Economic Forum's president has said that the Indian economy can sustain high levels of growth for years and become a $10 trillion USD economy in the coming 2 decades. Joining us now to talk about it is Dr. Nanjan Banik, a senior economist. Good evening to you, Dr. Banik. What do you make of that forecast, that prediction in the first place?
I think India is one of the fastest growing large economies, so this forecast in a way doesn't surprise me. If you look into the structural nature of the Indian economy, we are one of the, in terms of demographic profiling, we are one of the youngest population. We have one of the youngest population in the world. Alongside that, another important thing that you should also consider, 2/3 of our domestic economic activities are driven by activities which does not depend upon the foreign economy. For instance, when you have war in Russia and Ukraine, or for that matter, the war in the Middle East, we have enough of economic activities going inside our economy, be it construction, be it healthcare, be it education, be it tourism, which is enough to fuel the growth that we are seeing at the moment. In addition to that, one of the things which has happened in recent time, our construction activities are actually booming, be it the construction in the private sector, or for that matter, the capital expenditure that the government is initiating. So we are seeing lots of roads, ports, airports, and railways system being built. What does that mean? It means that in terms of doing business, the cost of doing business is coming down. Not only that, because we are seeing so much of construction activities happening around the economy in India, it is also creating lots of employment opportunity. Because as you know that next to agriculture, construction sector is the most important way to absorb not so skilled type of labors, and that is having a salutary effect. In addition to that, the government idea of this JAM Trinity, Jan Dhan account, mobile banking, as well as trying to initiate the spread of internet, is creating an opportunity for small retailers, small MSME sector, as well as the small roadside mom and pop stores.
Yes,
so basically,
you mentioned reforms, and even the WEF President, has said, Borge Brand has said that this sort of a forecast stands in case the reforms continue. He said India is in a very sweet spot. To quote him, of course, reforms should have to continue in India. Reforms related to education, funding, and reforms to tackle unnecessary red tape should continue. So what sort of reforms do you think he was hinting at?
So one is trying to understand how to minimize the cost of doing business, because if you look into the World Bank cost of doing business report, over a period of time, India has actually improved its ranking. So it's clearly showcased that if you were to do business in India, be it any states, now each one of the states are trying to compete with one another in terms of creating a single window process. So for instance, if you are trying to do a business, if you talk to any state government official, they will tell you that you actually get the land in a developed state. They are going to give you connection to electricity, they are going to give you connection to water, sewerage, stuff like that. So what does it mean? That the cost of doing business in India itself is coming down, and thanks to the capital expenditure that the government is undertaking, even if you are opening up a factory in Muzaffarpur, or for that matter in rural hinterland in UP, it does not take that much time for you to ship those finished products to the port city of, let's say, Mumbai or Tuticorin or Kandla or, let's say, any other port city like Haldia,
Right.
So basically, what it is actually hinting is a more uniform regional growth that we are seeing at this point of time.
Okay, and what do you make of this latest survey that's been released ahead of the WEF meet of global economists, where it's being said that geopolitical strife and tight financing conditions will slow global economic growth, while AI will increase inequality? What sort of challenges could it pose for India and its economic growth?
So inequality is a cause of concern not only for India, because even if you look into bigger economies like US or China, we actually measure inequality in terms of Gini coefficient. But in terms of, if you look into the Gini coefficient numbers for US and China, it is much higher than India. The good news is that in case of India, thanks to all the government subsidy programs and all the government undertaking, all this initiative in terms of GAM Trinity, which I just now mentioned, it is actually creating an environment for the smaller retailers, smaller MSME sector, to do their business and to create a credit profile for themselves, And precisely because of that, you see the retail loan, which are otherwise not growing that fast. In recent years, it is growing faster because the moment I actually do my transaction using Google Pay or GPay, I'm actually creating a credit history for the roadside retailer or the smaller mom and pop stores. So the bank now are willing to give loan to this type of small businesses. What it also means is increasingly we are finding the economy is coming from the informal sector to the formal sector, which is also going to have an impact in terms of increasing not only our GDP number, but also growth rate of GDP.
Sounds great. There is some concern related to this being a watershed year for the world's democracies as well, with over 70 countries going to polls. But in India's case, more or less stable situation is supposed to continue with the 2024 general elections here, mostly being forecast as a foregone conclusion in favor of current Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his party, the BJP, and the alliance that they have. But we'll see what happens in the months and years to come. Thanks a lot for joining us, Dr. Vixat. Now, Indian President Draupadi Murmu has inaugurated the 5th edition of the Meghalaya Games at PA Sangma Stadium in the northeastern Indian city of Tura on Monday, making it a historic event for various reasons. The ceremony, attended by dignitaries including Governor Phagu Chauhan and Chief Minister Conrad K. Sangma, showcased the diverse culture and rich sporting heritage of the northeast. This edition of the Meghalaya Games stands out as the first to be held in Tura, a departure from its usual location in Shillong. The inclusion of traditional indigenous games adds a unique touch to the sporting extravaganza, complemented by the inaugural presence of the President of India. Addressing the athletes and officials, President Murmu highlighted the untapped potential of Northeast India in sports development, acknowledging the region's strong sporting culture. Veteran Hollywood actor Harrison Ford has been honored with the Career Achievement Award from the hands of his Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny director James Mangold at the 2024 Critics' Choice Awards on Monday. Guests listening to his speech included Ford's Indiana Jones co-star and Everything Everywhere All at Once Oscar winner Ke Huy Quan, who played Short Round in the 1984 film Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. The Critics' Choice Awards are voted by the Critics' Choice Association, a group of broadcast radio and online critics and entertainment journalists.
When I need a lot of support, and I need a lot of support.
22-year-old American Madison Marsh made history on Monday as she became the first active-duty Air Force officer to win Miss America. Marsh defeated 50 contestants to compete in this year's Miss America competition in the U.S. state of Florida and win it. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, as well as Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.